Good morning, friend. I am Neeraj Kumar Dinkar. Today, we will discuss about the BOCW Act, Building and Other Constructions Workers Rules 1998, which is a power given in BOCW Act, sections numbers 14 and 62 to governments, to state governments can establish and make a power for the how to do the construction work. What is the criteria? What is the maybe systems maybe implement so that rules are there, that rules are established in our India and maybe change as per the requirements of governments and state governments, and they will also amendment every year in case of any changes. So, oh, that is a very different thing, because you know that BOCW Act and rules both are different. Act means which is passed in constitutional, and rules maybe both are passed in constitutions, but that powers, central government's power given to the state governments can be make the rules building and other constructions work. So that today we will discuss about the BOCW rules 1998, which is total numbers of part 5 and total numbers of there is chapters highlighted 30 chapters, and total numbers of rules 252 rules incorporated in the building rules. So there are total, we cannot explain the 252 because of there are different category, but now we will discuss about the which is related to the safety, because of I am a discussing I am discussing about the occupational health safety related, because of my professionals is everyone's safety, and so that are discussed only for safety. So first we can art start from the rules. Already if we are briefing about the entire rules, there are different rules which is mentioned the definitions, and definitions, government's body responsibility, what is the how to establish, and how to establish the um, certifications, ID card and everything. So, but now we will discuss about, first we can start from the responsibility of employers, so rule numbers 5, which is incorporated in rule numbers 5, employer and others responsibility. What is the responsibility of employer to whenever to do the construction work? So that is very important part. So we are going to discuss about the responsibility. What are the responsibility? Suppose that if you are a employer, what is your responsibility? As everybody know that BOCW Act and rules both are discussed in short, not lengthy, and very clear way. So buildings and workers first responsibility to how to protect the workers, means how to adapt the good practices if you are going to work with the constructions, first things, and how to protect. So employer are responsible to make proper planning and proper risk assessments, proper work method statements, and and good practices should be adopted during the construction work. But there is nothing happen, any injury, any incidents, and no any property damage. That is first responsibility of the employer. Then how we can save, then how we should prepare the plan, fulfill the legal requirements. What is the legal requirement? What are the legal requirements as per the made by the government's body like the BOCW registrations, labor license, car policy, e-workers health fitness certificate, lifting tools status inspections, air monitoring, and water monitoring test report. So, these all things are must be complied on the constructions work. That is a second responsibility which is given in the BOCW rules, rules number 5. Next, we have do not permit nobody if you are not aware and or aware about the permit to work systems. There is clear mentions in the employer responsibility do not permit any work if there are not meet and not fulfill the EHS safety requirements for workers. You have to stop the work. You have to stop the permit system. So that is a clear things. Employer are responsible. Employer and employee are responsible to stop their work if in case of not meet the safety requirement in workplace. So this is a basic things. Chapter numbers 5 are talk about the employer responsibility and employee responsibility and others things. Welfare need and expectations. Employers are responsible to provide the proper welfare facility system like the drinking water, urinal facility, toilet facility, canteen facility, proper accommodations facility, a lunch shelter point, health medical facility, first aid facility, which is given by the employer of free of cost for the workers, those people working on site. That is a responsibility of employer. And second, next responsibility of employer and employee to provided aid and provided proper wage and timely payment for the workers and as well as the employer those are working under your organization. Next, we have comply with all safety compliances accordingly the your requirements, project requirements, act requirements, rules requirement, and as per the locals norm you have to comply all those things and don't disturb to another people who are living surrounding the area. That is also clear mention. And report any incidents accidents happens, then you have to report to the in case of any fatality happens you have to have report or government's body. So that is a total overall we can discuss about the 8, 9, 10 responsibility are given in the chapter number 5. Now we will discuss about the worker responsibility, which is mentioned in rules number 8. What is the workers' duty and responsibility? Duty, first duty of workers must be report any unsafe act and conditions happen, and since they must be report without hesitations to the employer, supervisor, and engineers. Do not workers' responsibility to do not remove any fall protections, and which is very harmful to the workers and others people. Do not remove without permissions, without prior permissions to the supervisor and engineer. Use of access if the workers working on site only for authorized access should be used. Don't use the any shortcut access because of that may be chance of any near misses and any things happen. And worker responsibility also are established and also incorporated in BOCW rules, the which are facility provided by the employer like the urinal facility, toilet and canteen anything. So they will maintain properly. They are responsible to maintain the proper cleaning and other things they are also maintain the accommodations facility. And also workers are responsibility to take proper safety awareness, proper training, proper health medical checkup, proper health reporting, and they will also responsible to who these are facility must be given by the employer, and they must be ensured on time to time. Now next we will discuss about the rules numbers 34, which is relate to the noise, vibrations, excessive noise. So there are rules numbers 34 declares there if employers use of if high excessive uh, noise and anything. Suppose that if you are working on construction site, there are many things, many equipments are being used. Suppose that breaking breakers, excavators, and stone breakers for plan, and you are using concrete pump. If you are using in grinding machines, which is very noisily work, high noisily work, you have to avoid. And there are also categorizations of how to exposures frequency, exposures time exposures, and limitations of noise level. If you are supposed that 8 hours work 8 hours per day, then noise level must be 90 decibels, only for maintain 90 decibel if you are working 8 hours. If you are working 6 hours, then you can 90 noise uh, sound pressures must be 92 below the 92. If you are working 4 hours continue, then noise level must be 95, below the 95 decibels, means the sound pressures must be 95. If you are working continue 93 hours, then 97 noise pressures levels must be maintained below the 97. If you are working 2 hours, then noise levels must be 3 hours only. If you are continue work 3 hours, then noise pressures sound pressures must be below the 100 decibels. If you are working 1 hours, then noise levels must be 100.5 100 8 105 decibels. If you are working half hours 30 minutes, if you are working, then noise levels must be below the 110 decibels. If 15 minutes you are working, then noise then and sound pressures and noise level must be 115. So that is a categorizations which is incorporated, which is highlighted in the BOCW rules numbers 34. If you are working in construction site, then you have to follow the decibels, permissible decibels limit, permissible noise levels in your construction site. As a safety professionals, you should know that noise level, what is the noise level. Some peoples are irritating because of there are very noisy work going on, even and they are working on night also and complaining to others peoples, then they will stop the work. So that is not good. You have to check a check, and you have to keep noise multimeters, so then we can check and reduce the noise. So next we will discuss about the rules numbers 35. Rules numbers 35 say about the fire protection. If you are going to work, if you are commissioning any constructions and any work started in construction site, then you have to focus on the firefighting system. Fire, how to fire protection. So there are categorizations. Sufficient numbers of fire extinguishers you have to provide it as per defined in the BOCW Act and Fire Protections Act, plus NFPA, National Fire Protections And systems, there must be provided fire extinguisher system every 30 meters distance. One fire extinguisher should be provided, and a calculations of load of fire materials, calculation of fire load capacity. If you are hunks of materials, combustible materials keep on, and there is only one fire extinguisher, in case of fire happen, then we cannot extinguish because of only one fire extinguisher are available in place. So accordingly, the load capacity of fire and fire combustible material, you have to provide it fire extinguisher at the workplace. Now fire, if you are going to work in construction site, then you have to need, you will have to provided the adequate water. Suppose that in case of fire, then how to extinguish? Because of fire extinguishers only for small fire. In case of a small fire and initial of fire, we can extinguish. But if major fire happens, then you have to provisions of, will have to provisions of the mm, um, water facility. And next we have there is highlighted minimum 30% of people out of 100%, 30% people are must be aware about the how to use of fire extinguisher, how to extinguish of fire extinguisher, what is the types of fire extinguisher, and how much times needs to be extinguished. So that all are around 30% people must be aware about the extinguish the fire. In case of people's on leave which are trained, then others peoples can handle the situations. So that criteria also highlighted in the fire extinguisher. Next, to keep the fire extinguishers all equipments and hazardous area, like the if you are using the tower crane, also provided tower cabin, one fire extinguisher in tower cabin, and each vehicle's cabin must have to fire extinguishers. Stores, offices, everywhere where is chance of fire, the ad should be provided one fire extinguisher, sufficient number of fire extinguisher. And next, each fire extinguisher must be inspections on regularly and periodical basis. Suppose that if you have defined the fortnightly, monthly inspections and proper check the accessible and usable of fire extinguisher. Sometimes it happens you are not maintaining the fire extinguishers because of the, in case of any emergency happens, then that can be it cannot be used. So you have to maintain fire extinguisher system. Next, rules numbers 36 is saying about the emergency actions plan. If you are more than 500 people working in your construction site, then you have to prepare the emergency response plan, emergency plan, and what are the scenario, what is the potential hazards and scenario of emergency that can be you highlighted. Suppose that I work at height, suppose that electrical shock, suppose that excavated structures falls. So you have to define all scenario, all type of emergency that can be a chance of happen in construction project, and how to who handle the situations. So you have to who, who prepare in details events and people. So in case of happen any incident, then how to victims shifted within the 3 4 5 minutes in the hospital, so for further treatment purpose, including that all systems are you have to establish, and time to for time to times you have to evacuate, and you have to who conduct mock drill systems, and people must be trained and will facilitate it for the emergency access, emergency door, emergency vehicles, emergency doctor, maybe doctor should be assembly points. So those are things must be incorporated in your incorporated your plan. So that rules numbers talk about the 36 rules number talk about the emergency responsibility. 37 numbers talk about the rules numbers 37 talk about the finishing of the motor. Suppose that if you had many types of different types of equipments you are using, suppose that DG, suppose that at lifting tool tackles stopper cranes and grinder machine, everything so you are using in place, they must be proper safety guarded, proper barricaded, proper equipment maintenance in your workplace. That sections number 37 talk about the maintenance and finishing and gardening. Next 38 rules numbers 38 talk about the lifting, carrying, and excessive weight. Lifting, carrying excessive weight. Suppose that you are a most of workers using the materials handling, manual material handling. But nowadays, a different most of organizations provided proper equipments and so the wheel trolley and trolley and everything. So, but sections numbers 38 talk about the workers as manual materials handlings. No peoples, no workers, as no building workers lifted by the hand and carrying on the shoulders, back on the body, and they cannot handle excessive load in front, head on shoulders and backside of shoulder also, any types of materials. There is mentions on capacity of load by the man. Adult can 55 kg weight and adult women 30 kg weight and adolescent and men 30 kg and adolescent females 20 kg weight can be carried, but do not keep on shoulders. They can also handle the they can also oh, oh, carry the load by hand. If you are using 100 kg, then there must be four people must be provided, but they not use on head and shoulders and back on shoulders. So, oh, that is a talk about the excessive and lifting, carrying, and excessive weight in the construction project for the urge people's working on construction site. Next, we have discussed about the rules numbers 39. So, rules numbers 39 talk about the safety policy. If more than 50 workers working in construction site, then you have to prepare, you have to establish EHS policy, environmental health safety policy, which is committed by the and intentions by the how to intention and commitments and how to improvements by the managing director. Company managing director must be committed about the health and safety for the workers and how to establish systems. They must be committed one page, and based on the OHS policy, based on the EHS policy, all employer must be take responsibility to improvements on site and give responsibility to different levels accordingly the EHS policy, how to establish, how to implement, and commitments of managing director. And all workers must be aware about the safety policy, what is the policy of company, what we should it be here at the workplace. And next, trainings, time to time training provided, and display safety policy in three language. One is Hindi, one is English, and third is the local language. And majority of workers, what are the majority of workers? Suppose that majority of worker Bengali, then you have to oh, display in the Bengali. If you are working in Maharashtra, then you have to use local language Maharashtra. So depend on your or but how to all workers must be aware your policy and they are understood the policy. If they are something literature, they are not educated, then you have to who give safety training. So that are talk about the basic things BOCW rules part number one. Tomorrow we will discuss about the next rules. Thanks, guys.